Why did you think it was important to shake President Trump's hand?
Well, of course, that's the president. You don't have to agree with everything. You can be in a different party. I think it's just basic respect and courtesy. I think, and if someone's angry that I shook the president's hand as he walked in, I think that's on them.
In a potential re-election, would you want President Trump's endorsement in Pennsylvania?
That was the moment that got everyone talking. And honestly, watching this interview, you can really feel the tension in the room. CNN anchor Casey Hunt comes in with some questions that clearly surprised a lot of viewers, and even John Fetterman himself looked confused at times, like, really? Are we seriously asking this right now? But what made this moment interesting is that Fetterman, a Democrat, didn't just go along with the expected narrative. Instead, he pushed back and responded in a way that many people are calling common sense. So let's keep watching and see how this conversation unfolds.
Fetterman, thank you so much for being here.
Good to be back.
Why did you think it was important to shake President Trump's hand?
Well, of course, that's the president. You don't have to agree with everything. You can be in a different party. I think it's just basic respect and courtesy, whether it's for the office or whether it's just kind of, I can't think we can get to the place where, the State of the Union can't turn into like the Springer show.
Do you think your colleagues, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, conducted themselves the right way by that metric?
I'm saying I just disagree with that. It's not my, I'm not going to criticize it, but I'm going to say that's just not something I choose. And I think I walked around and I realized that half my colleagues were gone. And now if they want to boycott it, that's their choice. But I think overall, I don't see that coming back to, I remember back in 2009 when, I forget his name, Joe Wilson, yelled. That was really provocative and shocking to people. And that had bipartisan, they condemned that. And now here it's just part of the now where it's just kind of like here it is. So I think something's lost when, if that becomes like the new normal.
You can really hear what he's saying there. He's talking about respect, basic courtesy, and the idea that political disagreement doesn't mean total hostility. And that's what surprised many viewers. And here you have a Democrat openly saying you can disagree with Donald Trump and still show respect for the office. That message hit differently, especially in today's political climate where everything feels like a constant fight. And you can also see how he avoids attacking his colleagues directly while still making his position very clear. He's saying, look, people can boycott if they want, but for him personally, that's not the right approach. He's pointing out how politics has changed over time, how moments that once shocked everyone are now becoming normal. And that idea, and that something important is being lost, really stands out in this conversation. Then when the question shifts toward blaming Trump for the political divide, Fetterman doesn't take the bait. He says everyone shares responsibility. That's a pretty big statement, especially coming from someone in his party. Instead of pointing fingers, he talks about being able to disagree while still being in the same room and actually talking to each other.
Some people were surprised you wore a suit and tie.
I'm not sure why that's news. Yes, I do. I do dress like a slob, but for me, I'm gonna respect the event. Respect. That's the dress code, of course. So for me, it was an opportunity to hear these things, and I think there was enough there that I could say, hey, I want to acknowledge that I think that's a good thing.
You obviously have spoken with President Trump. You've met with him in the past. What was the last time you spoke to him privately?
No, it's just one of the things that was perhaps might make unique amongst the Democrats. I supported the Iranian strike last year, and I think every single senator in this agrees that we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. And if we all agree with that, I think harsh language won't be the solution. And now we've all discovered that a treaty or those kind of negotiations were unsuccessful. So the one thing that really did matter, and I think was impactful, was those kinetic kinds of strikes. And now here we are, might be again, where now they have another issue in that those missiles that they have, and now China is selling those hypersonic missiles there. That's outrageous. That's effectively the Chinese are selling that technology that would be aimed right at American ships, and I'll call and hold them accountable for that.
And this is where the conversation gets even more surprising. You hear him talking about foreign policy positions that many people wouldn't expect from a Democrat senator. He's explaining his stance directly, calmly, and without trying to fit into a specific political box. That clearly wasn't the kind of answer the interviewer expected, and you can almost feel the shift in the tone of the discussion. It also shows something interesting about how he presents himself. He keeps repeating the idea that he represents his state, not just one side of the political spectrum. That's a message about responsibility, that being elected means listening to everyone, not just the people who agree with you. Now, the conversation is about to shift toward elections and party politics. And this is where things get even more interesting because the questions become sharper and more direct.
Let's turn to the midterm elections for a second. This message the president delivered, obviously very much aimed at that. Do you think it would be good for the country for Democrats to retake at least one chamber of Congress in the fall?
I'm a Democrat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then it would be a good thing.
I think that is the question.
I mean, the House. I mean, you don't need to have a degree to know that. Yeah, that's going to happen. I mean, that's not just it's a fact. Just look at the history. You know, the party in power. There's backlash, and now it's already. I think the margin's already just a couple seats already. So yeah, that'll flip. And now if the Senate might be in play, so and that means it. So for me, as someone that the only one I think that's flipped a red seat for blue, and now that makes it even mathematically possible to regain the majority here in the Senate.
You can see how unexpected that line of questioning was, and Fetterman's reaction says a lot. He makes it clear his record is solid within his party, and he keeps bringing the conversation back to representing his state and doing his job. Instead of fitting into a simple label, he keeps repeating that he represents the people who elected him and that sometimes that means agreeing with ideas across party lines.
In a potential re-election, would you want President Trump's endorsement in Pennsylvania?
You know, what I'm saying, it's like anyone's entitled, but it's very strange. If anyone is a Democrat, I'm not sure. It's like the guy that flipped a red seat, and someone now, it's like now my record is solid Democrat. So, you know, whatever's possible. So for me, where I'm at, here we are. Don't we all want the kind of Democrat that can flip a seat? That's the one thing that matters. There's no drama, you know, who's going to be in California or in Massachusetts. You know, where it is and the states that really matter about the big dance, they all come down to those specific kinds of states. And now someone, you know, in Morning Consult a couple weeks ago, I'm up 15 points. I mean, that's so I
Fair
think.
enough.
Yeah, so.
Fair enough. And of course, that big, you know, in 2028 could come all the way down to just to Pennsylvania. Senator John Fetterman, thank you.
And just like that, the interview wraps up. But the reactions to this conversation continue because it highlights something bigger than just one interview. It shows how intense political discussions have become, how expectations shape the questions being asked, and how unusual it can be when someone steps outside those expectations. You can see throughout the interview that Fetterman keeps coming back to one idea: respect, responsibility, and representing the people who elected him. Whether you agree with his views or not, that message clearly resonated with many viewers. And that's why this moment is getting so much attention. A conversation meant to challenge him ended up revealing how complex modern politics has become, where even a handshake or a moment of courtesy can spark a major debate. Let me know what you think about this exchange. Was it just a tough interview, or was it something more?